Hello and welcome of Tarot Rebel podcast. This episode is brought to you by Gogo.
And Chas, disclaimer, we are not responsible for awakening the masses.
Hello.
Hi,
It's been
we're
2 weeks.
back.
We are back. We took a little bit of a break, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
The longer the suspense lasts, the more
absolutely.
the more people will watch, right? I feel
Yes,
like that's what smart business people do, right?
absolutely.
Keep
And a
people
lot of
waiting.
it was circumstantial too. Like I blame the retrogrades.
I mean, oh my God, I looked at my astrology for November and they're like, "Oh, this entire year was fucked, and now things are going to clear up." And I'm like, "What?
If you say
Really?"
so,
Like,
like
I didn't notice, and I was looking at like how many planets was in fucking retrograde, and I'm like, "Oh dear Lord!" Like Sagittarius was all sorts of ways of fucked up. So it was an interesting day to say the least.
yeah.
Hopefully things do turn around because it's supposed to happen on the 13th or the 14th. So I'm either going to get $1 million or I'm going to get hit by a fucking train. So let's see.
Yeah, Mars Direct is this week, so
Yeah,
uh
so that
yeah,
should
on the
be
weekend.
interesting. That should be
Yeah,
interesting.
most definitely. So, wow, this
Yeah.
is our 10th episode.
It is. As I
It,
said before, I feel like this is a milestone for us. Like 10 episodes in, so this is now what, like 10 weeks pretty much.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
More than 2 months.
Basically, yeah, yeah, more or
Damn.
less. So I was like,
Okay.
wow, it doesn't even feel like it. It feels like we just started,
It
to be
doesn't. Yeah.
honest.
Honestly, yeah. I feel
So,
like each episode is so different from the other that it's like, okay, we're just doing a new thing all over again. And I do still get nervous starting each episode. Like, I don't want to get the beginning wrong, or I don't want to say anything wrong. And like, sometimes you have your moments at the end of the day where it's just like, oh, you think back to it and it's like, oh, I've sounded fucking terrible. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're only humans, right? So we
yep,
do make mistakes. And I do like the
absolutely.
aspect that this is completely unfiltered, unedited. So what you hear is what you get. There is no editing. We are not so fancy. We do not have money for paying somebody to edit this. So, two broke witches.
But I think in essence that's the appeal. And then
Yeah,
that's what Taro Rebel is,
yeah. And
we just speak from the heart and
exactly.
yeah.
And the podcasts that I listen to, or the podcasts, the ones that are heavily edited, I do not even like because you lose that spontaneity of the moment and you lose that continuous that you build through, or continuum that you build through the conversation. So yeah, I think that this is the format that I would personally listen to, and I like that more than just kind of going in and be like, oh, have to edit this part out or I have to edit that part out. And at the end of the day, we say what we mean. So I think that there
Yes.
is nothing to hide away from the world.
We say what we mean and we mean what we say.
Exactly.
Here's
So
what's really
yeah,
interesting though. This is
what?
really going to boil your noodle.
Okay.
We're doing the 10th episode on the 10th. Today's
Oh,
November
fucking!
10th.
I didn't even notice that. Oh my God, the devil. Oh
I
my
don't think that was
God.
by accident. 10th episode on the 10th
Okay.
of
November
November.
10th episode of Terrible Podcast. Okay, thinking about uh that's fucking like universe being like, okay, this is a good thing, like it's going to be blessed. So hopefully, like, people
Absolutely.
share this. Everybody who's listening, like, share this, talk to people, be like, hey, these two readers be talking bull crap on on this episode. Just like share it, because like, I mean, it's interesting. Like, if we say it's interesting, it is interesting. No matter what you think when you're listening, it's interesting. Okay, I said it, so that's what it is. Now, the point
Indeed.
that I was trying to make, considering thinking about the numbers, right before you called me today or came into the conversation, I was watching TikTok, TikTok,
TikTok.
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 Yeah, and there was a guy calculating the numerical value of corona, the word corona. So what he did was, so corona has 6 words in it, okay? So what he did was, where does each letter fall numerically in line in the alphabet? So like A is 1, B is 2, and so on and so forth. So when he calculated everything together, turns out that corona is 666.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That
is the
you know
devil, you know.
that's not surprising in the least, honestly. Like
It is not. It is not.
I've been obsessed with numerology for quite some time. It's
Oh,
like,
really?
yes, it's a like I said, it's one of the things that I've studied over the years extensively, and I actually teach classes on numerology. So
Ooh.
there's different types of numerology. There's the hermetic uh, numerology that is mostly based on Hermeticism and Kabbalah and the sacred geometry. I have a friend of mine that does that type of numerology, but what I do is the more Greek based Pythagorean type numerology.
Hmm.
So,
Interesting.
based on the Pythagorean chart,
Yeah.
that is the type of numerology that I have studied extensively for over 10 years, I would say. So, the hermetic numerology is pretty interesting. You know, when I kind of compare notes with my friend, he brings out some interesting points.
Yeah.
And because they go more toward the shape of things, the angles, you know, the 90-degree angles, and so on and so forth, that make the sacred shapes, the sacred geometry.
Yeah.
So they kind of base the numbers on that. They also use the birth date, very similar to the method that I use, but their number definitions or meanings are different. So
Ah, I see.
because as I've learned it, it's every number's a vibration,
Yeah, true.
and that's the method I've learned. But with hermetic numerology, it's more of a coding, like secret codes to be decoded, if you will, and they kind of reveal secrets of the universe kind of
Mm.
stuff. So
Devil's coming for you.
yeah. So there's more of a prophetic element, I feel, to hermetic numerology versus the Pythagorean method that I learned.
Interesting.
So but yeah,
I'm
so it's
listening. I'm listening, but I do not understand a thing. I just in numerology, I was like, okay, numbers, interesting.
yeah.
I'll
I
have to do my research and not be ignorant, but I do have to do my research. But like, I don't have any idea what what everything that you just said was like a bunch of words, and I have no idea what that meant.
Okay, so this, just to put it simply, like numerology, at least the method that I learned,
Yes.
like I said, the Greek-based numerology
Hmm.
is basically the ideology that every number has a vibration,
Okay.
right? And every like big number can be broken down to a single digit, and that single digit it's is the essence, the very vibration.
So what's a big number? Example, just give me one
Uh
example.
like it could be like the number of your cell phone, right?
Oh, okay,
And
78.
yeah, right, like you could add up your cell phone number,
Okay.
right,
Yeah.
and get a big number for it, you know, probably a double digit number,
Yes.
and then from that you break it down to a single digit.
Yeah.
And that, in essence, let's say your phone breaks down into a 42,
Mm-hmm.
right, or 82 or something to that
Yes.
effect. 8 plus 2 is 1, 10, so that will break down to a 1, right, and that would mean that your phone is a vibration of a 1. And the 1 vibration tends to be very cerebral, very self-focused, very ambitious. So yeah.
So what would, for example, like if you're putting your phone number together, like just an example,
Sorry about that.
what would that mean? Like, what would that explain about your life? Would that give any particular meaning? Is it like more communication? Is it the type of outreach you have with the people? Because that's what I think like phone is for. It's a device to communicate, to spread your words. So is it when you have that number, is it talking more so about who you are as a person in communication, or so just as an example, you use the phone. So what would that kind of be
Well,
used for? Or is that
in that,
even used, or was that just an example you gave?
no, the cell phone is used. Like from what I've learned, everything gives off a vibration. Your cell phone, your address. Even here in the United States, we have social security numbers. You could break that down to a single digit. And all of those have a certain vibration. So let's say, for instance, for me, I'm a six life path, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I broke my birthday down into the number six. So that's my specific life path number.
Yes.
Uh, and let's say my phone is a one, right?
Okay.
So the six and the one is what would be called challenge numbers, because the sixes usually are a more natural match with threes,
Okay.
six, and nine. The one number is more of a match with the one, the five, and the seven.
What about
And then
44?
44 is an eight.
My number makes 44, so I just calculated that as we spoke.
Interesting. Okay, so
Yeah.
you got a 44.
Yeah.
Interesting. That would be considered on the master levels. There's 11, 22, 33, 44. But I'll get into that in a second. I don't want to lose you.
Okay.
So you're
Don't, because I'm like, where am
okay.
I? This is like Galactica, and these are aliens.
So so basically you're a 44 that breaks down to an 8. So an 8 is essentially your life path number.
Well,
Okay.
wait, you can calculate
Or
that
your
different?
phone, your cell phone's 44 or your
Yes, of course.
birthdays.
No, my cell phone is 44. My life path is number 3.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So your phone is an 8.
Yes.
So that's what you consider the business numbers. Two,
Ooh.
four, two, 4, and 8 are business numbers
Okay.
and more business focused. The 8 is usually the energy of acquiring a lot of money or being very materially focused. So, in essence, your phone number leans more toward a business phone line than a
Makes
personal.
sense. Yeah. It is definitely become that. And it's very interesting because within my phone, I'm not going to give my phone number completely, but there is two sets of numbers that really kind of a spark interest to me. So one of the things that I have in my number is the number 78, which is the number of the cards in the tarot deck.
Taro.
Yeah. And
Yes.
then I do have my kind of a middle part of the number, which is 852. And I have the same number, I shit you not, on my registration plate on my car.
Holy macaroni.
And that
How
was
interesting.
like 852 and 78. Like those two numbers, the amount of time I'm driving my car and the number is like 78 miles per hour. And I'm like, fuck off. So
Interesting. And if you break 78 down, that is
15,
15.
which is then
And
6.
that breaks down to the single digit of 6,
Yeah.
which is usually known as the number of the humanitarian, the number of the healer. So it's interesting how the cards have 78 cards. And here's I feel this is a very important subject matter, because basically to read tarot and understand tarot,
Yeah.
having a basic knowledge of numerology is essential
Yeah.
when it
True.
comes to kind of understanding the deck, because the original deck is based on principles of numerology.
Yeah.
So like the major arcanas, they use Roman numerals, and with the pip cards, they use 1 through 10. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
having having a basic knowledge of that is important. And I feel like personally, between well, everyone that's listening,
Yes.
I personally feel like the numerology is a combination of the Greek numerology and the Hermetic numerology. I feel it's a combination
Yeah.
of both. So I would say it's important to have some familiarity with numerology, especially if you're a beginner and starting with tarot. And like I said, the basics is that each number can be broken down to a single digit, and that single digit is in essence the vibration.
Yeah. And I think
Um,
that for those, the thing that made things easier for me when understanding I'm not well versed, to say the least, in numerology. But what helped me get down the basics was actually tarot. When you consider the aspect of the actual cards, I feel like they do very well resonate with the concepts of the numerology. Maybe some decks less than others, considering the type of imagery used, the type of depictions and whatever the associations are with each card. But I think that tarot can be actually a great tool to get a greater what's the word, greater understanding of numerology, because then at the same time you're not just working with a letter, or not a letter, yeah, well, a letter, a number. You're actually working with an image as well that can give you more meaning to what you're trying to learn. So I feel like it can be interchangeable. I feel like numerology in itself can be a great way to step into tarot as well, to get some further insight into the interpretation, but vice versa at the same time. By using tarot, I feel like you can also help yourself along in learning numerology along the way as well, because it makes it easier for those that may not, as myself, I'm terrible at math, terrible at numbers. So when I get something visual, I am able to learn from it more. So from that aspect, I feel like I picked up more on numerology based off of the cards themselves, rather than reversing that process and going into numerology and then going into tarot and applying the numerology to tarot. Rather just
right,
kind of mash it all together and go from there.
right.
So
And I would say more or less that's how it started with me.
yeah,
The correlation with the numbers and the tarot, and then kind of spreading out from there. I think what another way that that kind of sparked my interest in numerology was a movie that I saw years ago called The Number 23
mm,
with Jim Carrey. An excellent movie. For anyone that hasn't seen it, I highly recommend it. And it correlated the number 5 with the number of chaos. And every
interesting.
date throughout history that has been somewhat tragic breaks down to a 5 or the 23. The sinking of the Titanic, 9/11, I believe one of the world wars, or the bombing of Pearl Harbor, breaks down to a 23 or a 5. And
Damn.
here's what's even weirder. My birthday is 23, February 3rd. So the beginning of the movie takes place on February 3rd, my birthday. So I think that's kind of what sparked my curiosity
Yeah.
and, like I said, my kind of quiet obsession with numerology, because I'm like, I kind of felt immersed in the story of this
Yeah.
movie because I am in fact the 23. My birthday is 23. So there's a level of me being in that vibration of chaos, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it made me want to look further into it, and I ended up buying the DVD. And in the special features, they interview a celebrity numerologist, and her name is Glynis McCants. And she kind of broke down all the numbers and their meanings and vibrations, and I was super fascinated. I ended up like running to the bookstore like literally the next day and buying her book. And I like read the book front to back in like a day.
Yeah.
and and it was just interesting that she, again, like I just explained, everything has a vibration. The place you live has a number, your phone number, social security number, your credit card number. everything has a vibration.
Yeah.
Everything. Because if there's a number attached to it, it has a vibration. Right?
Yes.
So it's that, I think that concept for me made a lot of sense. And I started breaking everything down. Like I started taking my address, breaking it down, and my apartment number, breaking it down. And it made so much sense. And what was crazy is my birthday is a 23/5. My
Mhm.
apartment in New York at the time was a 5 as well.
Oh, damn.
And what's weird is I've always had this connection with the number 6. I
Yes.
always liked the number 6 for some reason. And I came to find out that my life path is a 6. So even before having this innate knowledge of numerology, I've had a certain affinity for certain numbers. And it made sense because these numbers are in my birth date.
Yeah.
These numbers are personal numbers that I've attached to. So it's like once I started learning, I made the connection. And then it made me look into further the tarot and how numbers is a very important part of the tarot deck. And the whole vibrational aspect really goes in with the cards, because just to give an example with the aces are indicative of new beginnings, and according to numerology, the number 1 is the beginning of life's journey, just as it is in the tarot deck.
Yeah.
So you could connect that.
Just as it is the unbridled potential in the Kabbalah and the first sphere.
Right.
Yeah.
In the tree of
It's,
life, 1 through
yeah,
10. Yeah, right.
yeah. It's
See.
all kind of interconnected,
Right.
kind of
And that's why I
builds
say
off
it's
of
a
one another.
combination of the two types, both the Greek method of numerology and the Hermetic Kabbalic numerology as well.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
as you learn, you get to see how it plays out in the tarot deck,
Yeah.
which is really cool. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because for my Tower of Empires, I'm trying to kind of get more into the aspect of Kabbalah. It's kind of a slow going, but at the end of the day, like there is no rush. Just gonna take my time. Whenever it happens when it clicks. They make sense to some degree. It makes sense, and it's interesting to see how all these different systems can work with the aspect of tarot.
yeah.
Now, we have touched on a couple of interesting things. Do you want to go into the segments? Do you want to
Yeah, because I
talk
kind of
about this
feel like
topic, or because it
I feel
ties
like this
in?
goes with it.
Yeah, it ties in. It ties in. So, the beginning jingle.
Da-da-da-da. Yeah.
Da-da-da-da. What the fuck is going on with jazz? Na-na.
We have to record one, like
I mean, listen,
you can sing it
Linda.
out. I like it better. Like I said,
I'm gonna make it funny, and I mean, I know you'll like my voice, but like, listen, if you wanna hear me sing, you gotta pay for it. Like,
it
my
works
voice
for
is
me. I'm
not
good.
cheap. Like, ticket is like $100. So, just for the future. JK. So,
Okay, so
what did you have for your segment today? What's been the what the fuck moment, what the fuck thing for you?
I honestly have to thank you for this week's topic of discussion.
Excuse
It,
me, Linda. What'd you say?
yes, I have to thank you for it because you inspired it. And I
Really?
kind of felt it kind of goes what we were just talking about with the numerology as well. As you
Okay.
know, tomorrow is a very popular day among the metaphysical community, the spiritual community. Tomorrow's 11/11.
Is it? Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
You can see how much a part of community I am because I don't even know shit going
yes.
on. I
This
mean,
is a day in the spiritual community, in the metaphysical community, that everyone kind of gleans over, like, oh, it's 11/11. Oh my gosh. And, like everybody kind of puts all their hopes, dreams, desires, and everything attached to that number. And everybody has their sort of own
set all of
unique
those on fire a long time ago.
interpretations of it.
You said, sorry, that was fucking loud. Okay, you said like all of their dreams and hopes and everything they kind of set their intentions on that day, right? Like pretty
Yeah.
much. But like I'm just saying, like I put all of those like on fire a long time ago. They've just burnt away. So what do I do with my doom and gloom?
Yeah. So every day's I mean every year on 11/11 is that day that we in the spiritual community, a lot of us kind of set those intentions in motion. It's kind of like the New Year's resolution, right? And what's interesting again with the numbers, New Year's Day is 1/1, right?
Yeah, 11.
11/11 and 1/1, they kind of correlate into the same number fields. So you see how this
Interesting.
kind of goes with the topic of discussion. So
Yes.
today's topic of discussion, again, I have to thank you for, because it's based on a post you put up.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
I think it was yesterday. I think you put it up about,
Yesterday? Yeah, I think it was. Wait, I
or was
have.
it Sunday? I know it was a
It
recent
was
post.
2 days ago. One day ago. Sorry, one day ago. Yes.
Yeah, so it was yesterday. Okay, so basically you put up like not everyone you meet is your freaking soulmate. Let that sink in. And I I
Get
read
that
that.
fucking right. Was my... To quote myself, it was once and for all, every person you meet is not automatically a soulmate. Get that right. I forgot to put a fucking in there, but I'm adding in here. Get that fucking right. Okay.
Right. So so that made me laugh when I read it, because I had an inkling as to why you had put that up. And I said, you know what? I think this would be a good topic of discussion, the concept of
Yeah.
soulmates and the concept of the ultimate soulmate, also known as the twin flame or the twin soul, right?
Yeah.
So I I wanted to touch on that today, and especially with 11/11 approaching, it's tomorrow. A lot of people actually correlate the 11/11 as the twin flame day.
Hmm. Really?
So, yes.
I did not know that.
Yes. Like you could literally, you got your phone in front of you, you could
Yes.
literally Google it and see how the number 11/11 is attached to the ultimate soulmate, twin soul, twin flame, and it's considered the day for twin flames. So,
Interesting. Because it's like the number one is the self, right?
right.
Number one is self. So it makes sense in that aspect because then you have one and one, so it's self, and then you have another 11, which is self and self. And the twin flame is basically like two souls separated, so kind of like coming
Like the two
together.
becoming one concept,
Yeah.
basically.
So it'll be 11 would be becoming two and two, right? Or
Right.
two at least.
Right.
Interesting. Hmm.
Right. Because in essence, I from based on my research over the years with twin flame,
Hmm.
it is the, like I said, the union of energies, the union of souls, so to speak, because we are in essence two halves of a whole. We have feminine and masculine, so there is two sides to each person, so it's the two and the two becoming one, whatever. So
Okay.
so that's the basic concept, and a lot of people correlate once again 11/11 as the twin flame day. So I wanted to talk about this,
Hmm.
and because in my experience
Yes.
and doing a lot of readings over the years, where I've had many clients inquire, can you tell me who my soulmate is? Is this my soulmate? Is this my twin flame? Is this a twin flame connection? Is this a soul connection? This is a good chunk of the questions that I get asked with
Shall I even
lovely.
comment? Pretty much the same stuff.
So you already know.
Hmm.
And what I wanted to talk about was the kind of, I guess, dark side of this concept or this ideology of twin flame or soulmate, and how it's overly romanticized, and how I've seen a lot of people take this concept and use it as a kind of way to cloak uh, their codependency,
Yes.
and
True.
a kind of way to cloak the fact that they, for all intents and purposes, are in a toxic connection, but they attach the concept of soulmate or twin flame to justify the reasoning why they remain in a state of toxicity with another person.
Mm.
So I wanted to touch on that. So, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we discussed about toxic people, emotional vampires, narcissists, all of that.
Yes, it was an unexpected episode, but a lovely episode.
Yeah, and I talked about the red flags. You know, like
Yes.
the most common red flags of emotional vampires, emotional manipulators, narcissists. You know, however you want to like define it as,
Yes.
just people on the toxic spectrum as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you from my own experience, I've seen how that has been cloaked by many people with the concept, once again, of soulmate and twin flame. I've had done readings with people that are in abusive relationships, and because they believe in their heart of hearts that this person is their twin flame or their soulmate, they remain in this state of abuse and toxicity.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what I wanted to touch on, and I wanted to be completely honest about this, because you know how we roll, G. When it comes to these
Yes,
things, we keep it
exactly.
real.
Look,
Okay.
at the end of the day, I feel like both of us have had very extensive and very, I want to say, even serious experiences with this sort of thing, if not on a completely personal level, at least with the clients that we have worked at. And it's very interesting you brought up the idea of the relationship itself being very rotten, but the person still considering that they have to stay a part of that relationship because their partner is potentially their twin flame or soulmate or whatever. Now, I feel like to go on the um a little bit away on the spectrum from that, besides just kind of the abusive relationship, my experience has also been with the people that would stay in a relationship with the person that is either not 100% invested into the relationship, is cheating, or is continuously turning the person down, right? So they'll run
Right.
after the person, yet the other person is like, no, I'm not doing this, or it will be they'll be down for a more committed relationship while the other person is down for a more open, fluent relationship that would most probably assume the aspect of polygamy rather than monogamy. So I feel like there is definitely a spectrum of how bad things can get, because I feel like when it comes to physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, when you come to that level, I feel like that's the worst of the worst. But
Hmm.
there is definitely a spectrum of how things do go. But
Absolutely.
that sort
Absolutely.
of aspect, it terrifies me, especially when somebody is heavily convinced that that's the case, and that no matter what, that they gotta stick in that situation for as long as possible, because by some miracle, the universe is just gonna pop in and be like, okay, this person is now going to change, and they're now going to treat you right. That
Absolutely.
shit ain't fucking happening.
Right. Right. And that's as I said in the beginning, a lot of people I've seen cloak their codependency with this concept of soulmate and twin flame.
That is
And
very
and
true as
that
well.
and that what you're talking about kind of goes into that spectrum of codependency,
Yeah.
where they're running to a person who by definition rejects them, diminishes them, just outright just avoids them,
Yes.
but it's their belief system that this person is their soulmate, that this person is their twin flame, that has them running to them.
Yes.
And again, this has to do with that codependent nature and attaching it to some spiritual ideology. Okay, so in essence, it's more of a behavioral kind of psychological thing,
Yeah.
if you want to get technical. And I have been one of those people that fell under that trap, the what I call the twin flame trap of being obsessed with someone being the ultimate soulmate, and this having to be the one, and me always setting myself up for unnecessary pain and heartache. And again, like, I've been there, and I'm not judging anybody who is experiencing this right now, but what I will tell you is you can open your eyes if you allow yourself to, because I did. I realized that uh, holding on to an ideology that by definition can be dangerous was detrimental to me and my experience. And I realized that there were some personal issues within me that I had attached to this concept. And primarily those issues were codependency issues. Okay, so a lot of times people are in essence not aware. They're unaware. They're oblivious to the fact that they're codependent, or they have codependent tendencies.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes these certain scenarios to kind of bring it out. Okay, but oftentimes people don't know how to identify codependency. And
But that's that in a way, I feel like we are as a society been teaching our generations or previous generations have been teaching the aspect of codependency. Just look at the man versus woman. What
yeah,
has the woman been taught for hundreds and hundreds of years? Be very pretty, dress up nicely, so that a man will want you and take care of you.
yeah,
That's the first example of codependency. Now, I
yeah.
feel like living in today's day and age, it's not necessarily so much the aspect of women having the percentage more that over men. I feel like maybe in the aspect of traditional views, yes. But when it comes to other aspects, I feel like men are equally codependent and need that codependency as women do. Maybe in
Right.
different aspects, maybe it's a different trigger or a different reason, but I do feel like it's pretty even,
Oh yeah,
especially nowadays when people are more open. But I feel like when you think about it, it's still something that lives in the shadow of
absolutely.
people's psyches. So as much as it is familiar, it is still very, I would say, infamous in today's
Mhm.
society.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. I, without question, feel social preconditioning is a major aspect. Uh,
Hmm.
is a major aspect of
You use
codependency.
fancy words. I can't use fancy words. I can't think of them.
Yeah, because that's basically what it is. It's conditioning and
It
social
is.
preconditioning. Like watching Disney movies. The whole
Yeah,
the princess damsel in distress, and the prince comes and saves the day.
exactly.
And it's that sort of thing. The romance movies, and when they kiss, the music swells, and they
Yeah.
live happily ever after, and that whole concept.
And they fly
The,
to the moon, and then
all these romance story, all these romance songs, I'll die without you, and
hell no, girl. Listen,
like,
Linda.
I mean, yeah. So it's, like I said, social preconditioning is a major aspect as to why we're all fucked up in the game when it comes to codependency,
Yeah.
because it's pretty much beaten into our heads 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Another aspect I would say, and this may be controversial, but I keep it real,
Yes.
is organized religion as well. And as you said, the whole concept of gender roles, a woman's role versus a man's role, and the sanctity of marriage, which goes back thousands of years.
Yeah.
So it's that essence of the sacred marriage as well that I feel is it kind of weighs over our heads. Like if we're not married up until a certain point, we've failed as a man, we failed as a woman, because we haven't reached that level of sacred union, so to speak.
Yeah.
So this causes, you know, psychologically, emotionally, a level of desperation where people want to attach to someone for the sake of, I need someone in my life to have meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any value as a human being unless I'm in union. And it's these sort of ideologies that are very dangerous. And then when you attach it to something grandiose like twin flame or soulmate, you know what I mean? It just takes this and makes it jump a quantum leap. It takes it to a whole nother level.
Now,
And
it's very interesting, just to interrupt you quickly,
mhm,
what you brought up just now. So, the inspiration from my post that inspired you to talk about this now brought up a specific thing that inspired me in the first place. So it's
mhm,
like a fucking quantum cycle right now.
mhm.
The
It was meant to be.
aspect of being in a relationship for the sake of just being able to say I am in a relationship or I have somebody was actually what inspired me to make that post. Because the person, not giving away any names, and the reading is private, the person is in a relationship with somebody, at least by the reading, that appears to be in the relationship just for the sake of being able to say that they are in a relationship.
Mhm.
And it sort of feels like the person is forcing themselves to be in a relationship for that reason, and is sort of hoping that the feelings and the thoughts will kick in later, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Basically, they are
Yes.
pretending that they are completely madly in love with the person, but what's really happening is just, I'm
They're
just gonna
settling.
fake it
They're
till I
settling.
make it. Yeah. And at
Yeah.
the same time, there are not some bad intentions, but it's more so that aspect that I wanted to touch upon because it's interesting. It's literally like the thing that inspired me inspired you, and now you brought it up without even knowing exactly what it is that I was reading into. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
I mean, are you even surprised at this point? We're
I
always sync.
mean,
We're always in
no,
sync
like I feel like our alien antennas are in the same wavelength
all
anyway.
the
So it's
time.
like I read your mind, you read mine. It's like I mean,
All the
who
time.
cares?
Yeah,
It's an
and
interesting
that's,
idea.
yeah, and that's the thing, and that's where this can become a dangerous thing when you're attaching a certain concept, an ideology, a belief system, or just, I mean, to put it simply, a fucking label as uh your definition of value. Like this is what gives you value. And I know, and I've known people in the community um who have attached their value to being a twin flame.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking that away. I mean, if that's what helps you to sleep at night, that's fine. But when you're giving something outside of you
To each their
power,
own. Yeah.
when you're giving that label power and making that define you, it to me, in my humble opinion, makes it dangerous, because you're saying you're not
True.
enough, and that you're only enough because you are a twin flame. And like I said, this is probably going to ruffle feathers, but it is what it is. And I'm not just talking as a person outside looking in. This is a
Yeah.
person who had their own apparent experiences with the concept of twin flame and a twin flame connection and so on and so forth. I feel like there has to be a certain responsibility with having a love for someone, and also a unhealthy attachment to a concept and an unhealthy attachment to a person.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember like a couple of years ago, like I said, this was a twin flame was a concept that also very much fascinated me,
Yes.
very similar to the numerology.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I learn any type of new concepts in the metaphysical community, I look into it, I research, I want to learn more, I want to be open to new things. So when I had learned about twin flame a couple of years ago, I fell in. And I remember at the time I had a very deep connection with someone that I've known since I was a teenager. So like this was like a almost a 20-year connection I had with someone, and I always felt it to be very strong, very meaningful. So for me, when I found out about this concept, I was like, it all makes sense, you know. But then because of my own personal issues with codependency,
Yes.
it sent me spiraling into a dangerous path. Okay.
Yeah.
And
It's a tricky game.
yeah,
It's a
and
tricky, tricky game.
not to say that it went extreme. You know, I didn't stalk anybody. I didn't do any crazy kind of incantations or curse this person because they, you know, or anything like that. But I've seen crazy stuff. I remember when I was in certain twin flame groups on social media, I had seen people who had restraining orders, orders of protection from the people they were stalking because they had a
What?
yes, because they had, you know, had it in their mind that this person was their twin, and it became a blind obsession with them pretty much stalking them. There was actually a story where the twin flame community was blown wide open, and it had to do with the celebrity Ryan Gosling.
I
He had
think
a
I heard that. Yeah.
yeah,
Who
Ryan
was claiming to
Gosling.
be his twin flame.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my God.
The woman during the hearing said that he was her twin flame, and that's why she needed to see him to explain to him, "You're my twin flame." And I mean, he didn't know her from Adam. He didn't know her from a can of paint. And you see what I mean, where
Yeah.
how
It
this can become
becomes it becomes unhealthy
right.
rather than being
If
something that
there's
can.
some
Mm,
honestly, if there's some deep rooted emotional, mental issues, people can take this sort of concept and take it to a dark place. Okay.
yeah.
That's when I started seeing these sort of posts. Oh, you know, my twin flame blocked me. My twin flame told me he never wants to see me again. He put up an order of protection. um and then there were people like, this is my twin flame, and I've seen him in my dreams, and this is somebody they've never met before, never had any words, any type of connection. This is just a person that they've idealized for some reason, and they attached twin flame to it. And
Yeah.
people obsessed with celebrities, and because they're, you know, they feel a connection to this person. They feel this is a twin flame, and this is again a celebrity they've never even met, like the Ryan Gosling stalker.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my point, and I saw it within myself, and I saw how I was spiraling into that kind of unhealthy attachment to this concept. And but for me, I had a dialogue with this person that I felt at the time was my twin. I had a dialogue with him, both as adults, and I came clean about how I felt, and things and we had an exchange, and we never reached twin flame union, but we're still very close friends today, and have a mutual respect for one another, and are in contact with one another. It never ever got to, for me, to that point where it got out of hand, and none of that. Okay. Because
Yeah.
why? Because I went to him, and I spoke to him, and I, you know, told him how I felt. And um another factor too, he lives across the world, so that was another thing. And there was a lot of variables involved, but to sum it all up, I never took it to that extent, but I
Yeah.
did see how it was triggering my codependency. I saw how it was triggering my abandonment issues. I saw how it was triggering my idealization of the one, and me not being with that person that I consider the one, making me spiral into a deep depression, and a deep lack of self-worth. I saw how it was taking me to that dark place, and that's when I made the conscious decision to detach from that altogether. And it was my personal choice to do it. And I see people who are pining over a person who doesn't even want anything to do with them, who has moved on, married someone else, had children with someone else. It's been years since they had any type of relationship with this person, and they're
Yeah.
still, like obsessively pining over this person, to the point where they do, magic on them and any type of way to get their attention. And this is what leads up to being blocked. This is what leads up to the stalking and the order of protection. And you can see like how this can progress. And it's
Yeah.
oftentimes because people don't want to introspect enough. They want to externalize their happiness with twin flame union. And if you would see that you're already whole within yourself, you're a person already of value, and that you don't need to be in union with anyone for that to define you as having a worth and a purpose in life, then you see what I'm saying. And like I said, I've had a lot of
Yeah.
arguments with people over the years, people who are, they claim to be twin flame readers, that they're very heavily involved in the twin flame community. I've had people come at me hard, and like I said, I've based it on my own personal experience. I said I've seen how this has triggered, unhealthy behaviors in me and things that I needed to heal and
Yes.
work on. That's all I'm talking about. Like I said, if anyone that's listening out there and they feel they're in a twin flame connection, I am not by any means taking that away from you. I'm not trying to minimize your experience in any way. I'm just touching on the dark places that this can take you if there is codependency issues that you have, that are not aware of, and just knowing the signs of it. Okay, I gave examples. When you're a obsessively pining over somebody you've never met before, to the point of stalking and things like that, this is a problem.
No,
Okay,
that's
and like
right.
G
And
explained,
yeah,
as you explained, with if this person is outright telling you, I don't want to be with you, I don't feel the same way about you,
believe them.
right? Okay, because in essence, my humble belief about twin flame, it's a spectrum, and where it starts is unconditional love, and unconditional love starts with loving yourself.
Mm.
Okay, that is the root of unconditional love, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, when we're putting conditions like twin flame union, if I'm not with this person, then all of this is a sham, there's no purpose to this. No, loving yourself, having an unconditional
Yeah,
love for yourself is purpose. Okay, and that is what all of us in this life, I feel, are striving to learn, how to truly love ourselves in a world that externalizes and puts conditions on what love is. So it's a hard pill to swallow, but I wanted to talk about it today because, like, you and I talked about, G, like, this is a good
yeah,
chunk of our readings, and when they, a lot of my clients have explained their situations, 9 times out of 10, it's a issue with codependency and unhealthy attachment to a person, or it's to the point, sometimes it's escalated to the point of abuse, but they blindly hold on to it because of a belief system, a unhealthy belief system.
yeah,
Okay, and
yeah,
it's because they've made it this sort of monster. I'm not saying that twin flame is a bad thing. Nothing is until you attach your own shadow aspects to it, the darkness and the unhealthy things to it.
yeah. True, true.
And like I said, I think a lot of this is about owning your shit and waking up to the unhealthy uh ideologies you have attached to this and behaviors.
Yeah, I
And
think at the end of the day, the only thing that I would like to add, and this is definitely going to ruffle some feathers, but we do not give a shit. So
no, we don't.
when it comes
This is to
to
enlighten. We're not trying to put anybody down. We're not trying to
no,
make anybody feel some type
listen,
of
I
way.
respect everybody's belief. That's besides the point. I respect everybody's belief. Whatever you think, whatever you feel, whatever you intuit, whatever. Cookie Monster. I fucking believe it. If you believe in it, I respect that. Like, Cookie Monster. Fine.
Right. This
This
is
is
to
my
enlighten and food for
experience.
thought. That's it. This is food
Exactly.
for thought. All right.
This is my experience and my perspective. In my perspective, every single one of these soul contracts, because that's what they are, twin
Mm-hmm.
flame, soulmate, whatever the fuck do you want to call it, the million different names that they have for it, all of that are soul contracts. So whether that be your soul splitting, or whether that be you sign a contract with another soul before entering into this experience, that you will have a joint experience throughout or during the lifetime that you are now experiencing. For me, 10 out of 10 times, it's not about that person coming in and being your perfect partner. It's about that soul or that person coming through and teaching you a fucking lesson. Sometimes it's the hardest lesson you will ever learn in life.
Exactly.
So that's my
Absolutely.
2 cents. There is nothing more that I feel like there is nothing more that I need to add to that because it is pretty self-explanatory. So it's not just about this is the perfect person for me. Because listen, Linda, when you get into the shit, it'll most probably be the worst thing that has ever happened. And there is a phone
Right.
ringing. Okay, we're messy. So
Absolutely. And
I feel like
that
it's
that
more.
was
There's
exactly how I
more.
wanted.
Yeah, it's not just, oh, it's rainbows and unicorns, because it's not. It's not fucking rainbows and unicorns. It's a shit show. Because that person is going to be all over the place. They're going to treat you like crap. It's not everybody's experience. But what I see the most is ultimately when it comes to that sort of type of soul contract is the aspect of they are here to teach you a lesson. They are here to trigger you because by triggering you, you are then forced to look at the shadow of yourself, to look at the things that you're hiding away, to look at the things that you're unwilling to accept, to look at the wounds that you're still not mending or that you're refusing to start healing.
Absolutely.
That's what I will do more than anything. If they're that if they're another motherfucker, then they're just gonna put you through hell. And that's a completely different episode, okay? I'm a bit angry today, so
No,
excuse me. But like
it's
fuck
so
that.
crazy. It's so
Oh, he's
crazy
my
because
soulmate. Fuck that shit. You know, like, oh, has he put
yeah,
you through shit? Well, there you go. Have you learned something from it? I feel like that should be the one thing that we should leave people on.
right.
Have you learned something from this situation? No matter
Absolutely.
what, just ask yourself that. What's the lesson for me in this? For once, rather than how do I get this person to kind of be with me or to make progress in the relationship or to have that happen or to have this happen? How do I do this? Try and take a moment and just ask yourself, what is it that a lesson is here, or what lesson is here? What is it that this situation might be trying to teach me? What is it that this situation may be trying to show me about myself?
Right. And
Thank you.
but here's the thing. The thing is, honestly, most people don't want to introspect in that aspect because it's painful.
Hell no.
People want to remedy the pain, the hurt, the rejection.
Yes.
So this is why they hopelessly pine on a person. This is why they are obsessed with reconciling with this person because the loneliness and the pain is too much to bear.
Yeah, I
And
know. And it's oftentimes just, sorry for interrupting you again, but like, fuck it.
no,
At
no,
the
no,
end of
we're
the day,
having a dialogue.
a lot of the times, it's actually the aspect, and it makes perfect sense what you said just now. It's the pain that they have caused themselves. Because
Right.
then you will have, let's say, like you're 30 and you have had like 3 or 4 long-term relationships by that point, and all of them have been crappy. They have either cheated, they have either been a bad partner, abusive, distant, whatever. Then you come into your, let's say, 31st year of life, and you come in with the expectation, I will now meet my soul mate. I will now meet my twin flame that will bring me only happiness, that will give me only joy. And it is no longer about finding a person that will meet you halfway and that will give you what you need in a relationship. It becomes a search for this ideal that is out of this world, that does not exist, and it
That's
becomes a way,
unrealistic.
yeah, it becomes a way of escapism, because it's no longer you dealing with that past, and then you focus or hyper focus on that person so much when you think that you found them, just to run away from all the bad decisions. Listen, Linda, nobody forced you into a relationship.
No.
We do not live in that age, and at least in the Western world, nobody is forcing you in a relationship.
Right.
So, first of all, face the fact that you have chosen to go into that relationship, and face the fact that it was a bad decision. So what? Have you never made a mistake in your life? Deal with that. You made a mistake. You know better now. Use it. Don't run away from it. Don't hide from it. Use it. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. But again, this is too much for anyone to bear, if especially if they haven't, excuse me, come to terms.
They have not
uh
came. They have run away.
they have not come to terms or pretty much owned their shit, because a lot, my mantra, and I use this a lot when I'm coaching clients and working with my groups, is own your shit.
Yes.
Most people don't want to own their shit. They want to make excuses. They want to externalize. They want to pitch blame. Oh, it's this person. It's that. This happened to me. That. So, or they victimize themselves. Like, this happened to me, and that's why I'm the way I am. And that, again, not owning your shit. And
Exactly.
again, externalizing happiness with, being in union with someone, again, sets you up for unnecessary pain and suffering. And
Exactly.
it's so, like I said, it's so crazy, because that's exactly how I wanted to close this up. I wanted to close this segment up with a
By me yelling.
quote. I I mean, it's like every time how
I don't yell every
much
time.
how much we're in sync sometimes. It's kind of scary. But anyway,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. That. I
that's
thought.
what I'm talking about, because that's exactly how I wanted to close this up. I wanted to close it up with this quote from, one of my favorite books, Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. And this is how she summed up the concept of soulmates. She said, people think a soulmate is your perfect fit, and that's what everyone wants. But a true soulmate is a mirror, the person who shows you everything that's holding you back, the person that brings you to your own attention so you can change your life. A true soulmate is probably the most important person you'll ever meet, because they tear down your walls and they smack you awake. Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love. And that's how I wanted to close this segment, but you pretty much broke down the quote.
Yeah, I feel like just I tend to do that. I tend to
Yeah, because that's just
yell
it.
the truth
People
away.
people want to romanticize soulmates as something that will bring them endless joy and happiness, and it'll
Exactly.
cure all the wounds that they have. It'll heal all the
Exactly.
wounds. And no,
You know
you
what
have
you
to.
will get? A life of fucking ignorance. That's your what you will fucking get. And when you're
And
going to be
pain
like
and
90
suffering.
on your deathbed, you're gonna be like, why didn't I live a different life? That's why.
Right.
Okay? Make better choices right now. That's my mantra.
Choose
Make
you.
better choices right now. Yes, that as well.
choose
But
choose you.
put yourself first, as well as do not be over focused on yourself. Okay? Don't take it too
Right.
far. Be self loving, but don't be arrogant. Okay?
Right.
There
Balance.
is there is
Balance.
there is a fine line. There is a fine line. Keep other people in mind. keep yourself as a priority, but there is a fine line that can be walked with this. But I feel like
Right.
that quote really does sum up the topic itself.
It absolutely
It's
does.
really true.
And that's what I just wanted to talk about today.
Hmm.
And it's time people understand in essence what a soulmate is, what a twin flame is. It's basically whatever the connection is,
It's
whether you
overdue.
right, whether you believe this is a soul connection or not, everyone comes into your life to teach you about yourself, to
Yeah,
get you to understand more about yourself. And when it's unhealthy, when it's toxic, that's only a reflection of things within yourself that needs to be healed. Okay.
yeah,
And if this person leaves your life, then this is an indication that it's time to focus on you and work on you so that the right person come into your life. So
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I will make my segment quick and close off the episode.
Mhm.
Okay. So, what did I say the name was for my segment? I forgot. Dear Lord.
I believe it's the card of the week.
Okay. Card of the week with G. Ha. Okay. There we go. So,
These
oh my
the
God,
little
keep
jingles
it.
are priceless. That's what I
Yeah,
live
I mean,
for.
like that's what makes it pop. I just gotta let more of my voice just like flourish, just like be fucking amazing. Okay. Uh, so the card of the week for me, and it's literally been more than a week because I pulled that card on Halloween, so it's been like week and a half. Um, it's been the Four of Cups. Okay, so to give you a little bit of backstory, I pulled the Four of Cups in the aspect of what is to come for me short term. Right. So there is a larger spread, and there is multiple different facets that tie into the kind of the meaning of this particular position, but it was kind of the aspect of what is to come. So for me, it was interesting because the first thought is always, oh, it's going to be doom and gloom. It's going to be depressive. It's going to be negative, and it's going to be a freaking shit show, right? It's just there's no momentum with the Four of Cups. Is going to be stale kind of environment. It's not going to be moving anywhere. It's not going to give any sort of motivation, inspiration, desire, passion. So it was interesting for me because in that moment of pulling that card, I had all those things go through my head. But at the same time, I was also looking at the flip side of that entire thing. And especially today, I am feeling this energy because, as you know, Chance, I've told you I've kind of been feeling very odd today, a bit frustrated, a bit like just kind of out of it a little bit. So coming into the Four of Cups, I feel like for me, it was not necessarily just the aspect of being depressed. It was sort of a wake-up call at the end of the day, which I feel like I'm attributing a new meaning to the card that's so well well familiarized with so many people. I feel like it is also a wake-up call to motivate yourself, to look at the aspect of the world, the people, the circumstances, the situation around you are not going to always be there. They're not always going to be there to push you along, to motivate you, to give you that kind of an extra boost that's going to keep you going forward. Sometimes you have to do that for yourself, and you have to be very comfortable doing that as well on a regular basis if needed. So I feel like the Four of Cups coming through for me today was, well, not today, but at that point, and today as energetically more so, was the aspect of kicking myself in the butt and pushing myself along rather than just staying, what's the word? Staying stuck, basically.
Right.
So what do you think? Does that make sense? Does what I'm
It
saying make sense?
definitely It definitely does, because I think in many books about tarot, they always attach the word apathy or
Yeah.
being apathetic. But for me personally, I feel that there's a level of ambivalence more than apathy.
Hmm.
Apathy can kind of go into indifference in a way, right? You could kind of associate Four
Yeah.
of Cups with being indifferent, or a lot of times people correlate it with being bored also. Yeah, like just kind of over it, like whatever. But I always found that there was just a seething ambivalence, and ambivalence has emotion attached to it,
Yes, true.
because it's cups. Cups have emotion no matter what.
Yeah, true.
It's the least most emotional card, because I feel it's not outwardly emotional. I feel the Four of Cups is more internal. I feel like with the Three of Cups before it, there was a level of overindulgence. And now, because you've drank all that you can possibly drink, now it's just like there's another cup floating at you, and you're just like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's like I'm fine.
like I had enough. You know what I mean? And it's just somebody kind of trying to shove a cup in your face, and you already drank 3 cups to the face,
Yeah.
and you went into a drunken stupor, you passed out, you threw up, probably had an accident on yourself, and you've done all the crazy overindulgence of the 3 of Cups, and here's another cup floating at you. So it's like, nah, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I kind of feel like, to me, that's kind of what the 4 of Cups is like. That ambivalence is like, I had enough, I'm good. um
Yeah. So
I
it's
kind of know where I've been, and
yeah.
where I'm heading if I take another cup, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's another thing of uncertainty, of apprehension. Do I take
Yeah.
this other cup after being drunk out of my damn face for the past couple of weeks? you know
It's interesting. Yeah, because
it's a
I feel
so
like
it's a
it's
sobering card, like,
yeah,
yeah.
it is. And I feel like at the same time it literally feels like it's sitting between inactivity and activity, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's not necessarily, I feel like it's described, or when you first oh, sorry. I need to bring the mic closer. Just yell at me. Just say it. Like, oh my God. If I'm not
I
audible
didn't want
enough.
to interrupt you, because I know you were
No,
making
just
a
fucking yell
valid
at me
point.
like bring your mic closer. Just do that. I don't fucking mind. I don't mind restarting.
Listen, Linda, I'm a bit more conscientious. That's my Aquarian nature, okay? I
Listen,
know
I'm a
what you're Sagittarian,
Sagittarius.
and you're just
I'm
like,
burning
you're
shit
balls to the
away.
wall.
I will interrupt you. No two cents about it. Unless I feel like you're like in the moment, then okay. Um, but what I was saying, and I forgot. And okay, so I feel like it is definitely the placement between the momentum and that sort of still place where you're just inactive, or it's almost feel like you're stuck. Because I
Right.
feel like it's space where you're choosing to go and maybe take a moment just to pause and look, what am I going to do? Am I going
Right.
to make that choice? Am I going to keep my steady space, or am I going to run out into something new and just explore? So
Right.
when I was looking at the cards, I picked up 3 or 4 different decks. I know that the card that I picked the card from was actually the Autumn Tarot. So Madame Lydia Wilhelmina's. Okay, it's a long fucking name. So Autumn Tarot was the card, or the deck that I pulled the card from, and I've also pulled a card from 2 different decks today to just kind of get a better idea of what all
Okay, you're
of
going
them.
away again. Come back.
Yes. Okay, here I am. Shit. Oh, you can tell it's evening
I'm
for me.
yelling at you. Happy now? Or
Yes, I am. Yes, Linda, that's what I want. Rar. Okay. So
I'm letting
I've
my Aries rising
basically
come out. Get
there
back
you
here. Where the hell are you going?
match my fire with your fire. That's what I want. Yes, Linda. Okay. So the point that I was trying to make is I've made notes. Here are my notes.
All right. Lay it on me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what I've put down is there is no motivation. The future does not promise happiness or a turn of events. Can't read what I've wrote. Sad news, black perspective, or bleak, not black, bleak perspective. A call to action. This is where it kind of starts to get positive. Be active, otherwise you drown. Don't wait. A small action is still an action. Push yourself, call yourself out, which kind of works with what we spoke about throughout this podcast entirely. And then
Yeah.
the last one was,
Owning your shit.
yeah, the last one was self actualize, which I feel like is very fitting as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was just gonna say that again. See, we're always in sync.
Yeah, I mean,
When I
listen,
think of
I
the
predicted it. This was written like
I
3 or 4 hours ago. So,
mean, you know.
Linda, I predicted your thought.
So again, because when I think about it, like I think of the progression of the
Yes.
cards.
Yeah.
It's the celebration and the parting of the three of cups that can lead into overindulgence, right? And the four of cups is like that sobering period when you're sobering up from the partying, from the celebrations and the haze, and you come to a realization that you might have overdid it a bit, and like the realities of the situation start setting in, right? And then you're brought with a
Yes.
a choice.
Yeah. I
Do I
feel like,
take this other cup?
yeah, it appears
Do
to
I
be
drink of
just
this
very
other cup
slow.
or I pour it out? What do I do?
Yeah. Yeah, true. And I feel like, yeah, well, the deck that I used is, do you have the Autumn Tarot?
Which one?
The Autumn Tarot.
No, I haven't had my. I've seen that deck.
So
It's very beautiful, but
it
I don't
is.
own
It
it.
is. See, with that one, it's just four cups laid in front of like a small boy. So it's not necessarily the it is the right away interpretation, but there is no like one cup floating to the person. And I feel like when you look at that interpretation, it makes sense. It's like, oh, am I going to actually take this or not? So it is decision time at the end of the day. And when I'm thinking about it, it sort of reminds me of if I'm not mistaken, the Two of Swords from the Barbieri Tarot, because it's a similar depiction of, no, actually, Four of Swords. Pardon me, Four of Swords, where it's kind of a going inward, taking that time to just kind of chill, relax, figure shit out, and then move forward. It's giving me similar vibes now when I'm thinking about it more.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I'm going
Uh,
to be honest with you. Four of Cups was always those cards that kind of stumped me in the beginning when I first started reading.
Me too.
There were several cards, and that was one of them.
Hmm.
Because I felt like most of the other cups were pretty self-explanatory,
Yeah.
but it was the Four of Cups in particular that always kind of I had to stay with for a while and figure out exactly what it's saying, what the message is, depending
Yeah.
on the situation.
True.
And like I said, fast forward to now, when I see the Four of Cups, like I said, it is a decision of uh, a process of self actualization. I think that's a perfect word for it rather than apathy, because when I used to see the apathy, I don't recall, like when I would pull from myself, I wouldn't recall feeling apathetic about a situation, so it would throw me off.
Yeah.
And I felt later on at the whole self-actualization, the sobering aspect of the Four of Cups, that made a lot more sense because it kind of brings things, it makes you see the wood for the trees.
Yeah.
And when you start seeing the reality of a situation, it stirs up certain feelings because, again, it's a cup. So it's feelings. So to me, that's the feelings attached to coming to a place of self-actualization, a place of the reality setting in of a situation. There are feelings attached to that.
Yeah. True.
And it
I've,
could be not so pleasant feelings. So like, again, when I think of it, I'm thinking of the original card.
mhm.
His demeanor is sort of resentful, sort of defeated in a way.
Yeah, there is a bit of anger in there,
Yeah.
rather than apathy. There isn't that sense of anger. I've seen some depressed ones where you could say it's like, okay, that's apathy, but he's definitely more angry looking rather than just
Yeah.
disinterested or uninterested. And I was just thinking as you were talking, I feel like there is a quote that could actually be attributed to this card,
Hmm.
considering the aspect of like decision making. And that would be, if you always did, if you always do what you always did, you're always going to get what you always got.
Yeah,
And I feel like that
absolutely.
may be the character in the card, just kind of a, am I going to do the same thing, going to drink from the same cup that I always drink from, or this cup that's the same as every other one, probably filled with the same type of liquid as all before it, and then do the cycle again.
Yeah. And I kind of feel like, I don't know why, but I just feel like this may be the card that kind of makes a person come to terms with their vices. And that's why the cup is kind of there tempting you.
Yeah.
Because now that you're aware of your vices, are you going to partake now? You see, like it's that sort of process in human nature where
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of cards that are indicative of temptation in the tarot deck. Now that I think about it,
There is,
and I
there
feel like,
definitely is.
yeah, and I feel like in the original depiction, in the original picture, in the Rider Waite, I definitely feel that this is one of the cards that are again indicative of temptation, with that floating cup at you, coming
Yeah,
at you.
it is because I feel like it's a different like I mean my main card for temptation is always the devil.
Oh yeah,
I always go to that.
yes,
I know some people are like, oh, it's not just a temptation. Like, yes, the fuck it is. Like,
yeah,
it's the original one. It's not necessarily just about somebody being a manipulator or whatever. It's not always that. That's true. I give people that, and I believe that, and work with that sort of knowledge base as well. It's not just about, oh, if it's about a person, it's a manipulator, or this is a completely shitty situation. But it is temptation. Like, I feel like the basis for the devil is definitely the aspect of temptation, whether that be self-created or externally created. The Four of Cups does, when you look at the original card, have a similar feel. But then, when you look at what was the Seven of Cups as well, to
yeah,
me. Because you do have, like,
temptation.
you have the aspect of
Yeah,
the snake in one of the cups. You do have a woman. You do have gold. So the
yeah.
woman and the snake,
The castle, the yeah, yeah,
exactly. That kind of brings me back to the Garden of Eden, the woman and the snake. For some reason, maybe it's just
right.
my mind, but it kind of brings me
Absolutely. No,
back
no,
to
no.
the Garden of the Eden. You think of the
Yes.
castle, you think of the riches, the money. Then you have the wand, I think it is, or some sort of magic thing as well, is within one of the cups. So you have the aspect of, what if I can do what nobody else can do? That temptation. So
Right.
I feel
And
like
I
that
agree.
that's
I
another one.
agree.
Yeah,
I feel, because of course the devil is the temptation on a grand scale, because anytime you get a
exactly. Yeah,
major card, it's on a grander scale. But of course the minor arcana, the pip cards, are more of a lesser degree, if you will, more of the mundane situations. And I feel
exactly. Yeah,
like, right, and I feel
yeah,
like with the Four of Cups, it's more of being tempted from an emotional space. For example, like, this is a, to me, I feel like, just to put it in context, or just to give it a story, it's a person who comes to terms with their vices. It's a person who had a moment of overindulgence and is coming to terms with their weaknesses,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So this is a person who's aware of their weaknesses now, because they've had this sobering moment with the Four of Cups. Now they're sober. Now the haze is gone. Now they see the wood for the trees, and here comes that floating cup. Like, what are you going to do now? Are you going to go forward doing what you were always doing, or knowing that this can lead into a spiral into some addiction or vices that that you can succumb to because it's a weakness.
Yeah.
And another aspect of it too that I was thinking about as you were talking was being tempted to respond to certain things from a not so uh, rational place emotionally. When we have
Yeah,
emotional reactions to things, and
it is.
it's not always rational. So this is that period I feel in between. How do I react? Like, let's say, for instance, you
Let me
go
give you an
into
example of today,
yeah,
because I've been
right?
living this energy today. So, the way that I started my morning was by waking up super late. Besides the point, but I went onto Instagram, found somebody that you're actually following as well. Feel good. Sound familiar? Instagram channel or Instagram person.
What's it called?
Feel good. So instead of FEEL, it's BH like a name.
Oh,
Phil.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I heard of it. I don't know. I follow people sometimes
Yeah,
random.
you follow. It's interesting. It's like I don't know who that person is, but it's like both your private account and your business account are following this person.
Really? I Now
Yes.
I gotta look into it because I don't even know who
Yes.
this is. If it's on my
Yes.
personal account, a personal account might be somebody I know.
Yeah,
But anywho, go on.
exactly. But I need to plug my laptop because we are going to die. But what I was going to say is the the story today is like I've went onto this person's Instagram and I was just listening about that. Like, be more conscientious of the feelings that you have on a daily basis, right? Be more open to, rather than reacting, doing something with that feeling. Like, try and understand it, try and figure out what it means and what it is trying to basically tell you, right? So that was the first thing. Then I got into the astrology later on in the day, but the whole entire day I've
Lost you
been,
again. Come
yes,
back.
yes, I've been adjusting the laptop. I'm trying to do everything so we don't lose connection. But the whole entire day I've been super reactive to things, pretty much, like angry, frustrated. So it's interesting how the universe sends you a message of what you need to know that day, because that's what opened up my day. Listening to that guy being like, okay, if you're angry, if you're pissed, if you're frustrated, if you're sad, whatever it is, if you're happy, try and unpack that emotion. What does it mean for you? So to then later on in the day just go into all of that, it's an interesting position because I feel like it was in a way it could be that cup giving you like, okay, you know what you need to do. Now here's the cup.
Hmm.
How are you going to react to it? Because the figure in the original one is pissed, right? He's like, oh, I don't want to fucking do this any longer, right?
And I think that right there talks about the gamble.
Yeah,
Is that is Would that cup lead you astray, or is that cup the resolution?
exactly.
Either way, it's forcing you to make that decision to take that chance.
True, true.
Right? So that's the conundrum of the card.
Yes. So I thought it was going to be like only a couple of minutes, but I think we got really into it.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
like it. I like it. So, with that being said, I think that we are going to close off this episode and leave one thing for next week, which we wanted to talk about today as well. So I think it's better we leave that for next week.
Okay.
I hope everybody has a great weekend ahead and hope to hear or hope you check in with us. There we go. Next
Yes.
week as well. It is the celebratory 10th episode. I feel like on the 11th, we need to have a drink.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's only appropriate to be like, okay, we did 10, 11th, we can just let it go. We can just do whatever.
The thing is, it's early in the morning over here, so I don't usually drink early in the morning, but I'll probably
I
make it.
mean, like, get some juice and say it's whiskey. Like, girl,
No, I
I
commit. If it's a drink, it's a drink. But I'm like,
listen.
when we
Over
record
here,
this,
it's like evening, so
if it's past noon, then yeah, because usually we record about, for me, around 11 a.m.,
right. And
12 p.m.
at
So
the end
that's
of the day, it's 5 p.m. somewhere. Like,
true. There's that.
over here, for example, Linda, like if I'm drinking at 4 or 5 p.m., like then you can drink with me in solidarity, if nothing else. Let that be your excuse. You're drinking in solidarity for your co-host.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
But I just want to say quickly thank you to everybody that's been listening, everybody that's
Yes.
been reaching out to us and supporting. It's really been awesome, awesome ride so far, and I'm looking forward to many more episodes in the future. So yeah,
Yeah. It's definitely something that I feel like it brings a lot of joy and happiness to me at the end of the day. Just kind of having this conversation, going over the topics. So everybody, again, who's tuning in, thank you, and do share the podcasts, invite people in, and I think as well what we should include. So where could people find you, Chas, online? Where can people find you?
the usual networks: Facebook, Instagram,
What do they need to type
Twitter.
in?
Indigo Ray Healing is my account
Yes.
on Facebook, on Instagram. So just type in Indigo Ray Healing, and you'll get all my info there. Also, my website is indigorayhealing.com. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, people can find me pretty much anywhere on social media if you just look under Goran Novak or something along those lines. In any scenario, we are going to leave all of the links to our personal info and the podcasts, Instagram, Twitter, and email. If you have any questions and requests or anything that you would like us to talk about on the episode of this podcast, or would just like to keep track of us on, or keep in check with us, sorry, on social media. So, yeah, I hope to hear from, I don't know who, I don't know where I was going with that sentence. What the fuck is going on? Dear Lord, I lost
That's,
my train of thought, like,
if you
just
if
like
you
that.
want to look us up, we'll have all the information down below in the
Yes.
information section.
That too.
Boom, bam.
Okay, just to kind of end it off, should we tell them about YouTube or not? Might I be surprised?
Yeah, no, I think we should. I think we
Okay,
should. So
so quick notice for everybody that's been listening to us on the podcast platforms. We are now going to be posting the episodes onto YouTube as well.
da 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 da.
Yes, drum roll. I mean, it's past that point, but it's redundant anyway. I think for right now, it's just going to be the audio with some nice graphics. Maybe in the
Yes.
future, investing into better equipment and posting the actual visual for the podcast would be fun. And yeah, that's it. That's the announcement. Find us on YouTube. Have a good
Yep.
week.
All right. Yeah, so we're gonna be posting up episodes, and that's gonna be fun. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it is. It
So
definitely is.
definitely look us up, subscribe.
I mean, if you don't look us up, we're just going to shove it in your face anyway.
Exactly.
So,
Hmm. We're
okay.
spreading the word little by
Exactly.
little.
Yes. Okay. Till next week. Goodbye, everybody.